Hello, dear Voice of Immigrant Women Organization followers. Welcome to our session about employment challenges for immigrants in Canada. My name is Sukran and I will be your moderator. Today we are hosting Grace Norris, who is a senior recruitment consultant at Hudson Recruitment Process Outsourcing. If you're looking for a job in Canada as a newcomer, you're probably curious about how the recruitment process works and how to get hired. I imagine that you have a lot of questions in your mind that keeps you awake all night. What am I supposed to do to get an interview? Why didn't they call me? Why do I need Canadian experience? I have 20 years of experience already. What are they really looking for? And more importantly, how can I get a job in my field? I know you have more questions, and Grace will help us understand how things go on the other side of the table. And she's going to give us some tips and strategies of recruitment, strategic recruitment processes as a strategic recruiter who has been doing this for more than 20 years. She has tremendous experience with different industries such as manufacturing, pharmaceutical, and customer goods, to name a few. And she has recruited for Canadian, American, Asian, and Latin American global organizations before. So we have the right person to get our answers. Welcome to our session, Grace. Thank you for being with us today. I'm sure our followers are really curious about our topic, and I believe you will share great strategies with us. I have been living in Canada for more than 6 years, and I went through this frustrating job search process myself. I asked questions to different people and got many different answers about what I should be doing to get a job. I was overwhelmed and exhausted at the end, and I didn't know which advice I should listen. Grace, you are the expert. What should a newcomer do to get into the Canadian business world?
Hi, my name is Grace Norris, as Sukran had mentioned and introduced. Thank you very much for the kind words. I'm not sure if I'm an expert, and I'm not sure if I have a crystal ball or the magic formula to help you find the job, but I'm certainly here to help give you some insight, provide some value, and I hope that the presentation that I put together today can guide you and help you. So without further ado, the first thing you need to do is create a game plan. I know firsthand, because I too have worked with immigrants from other countries to Canada, it is a frustrating process. I know that. And you need to be in the right mind frame. You need to dedicate some time towards this arduous endeavor, set realistic expectations, whatever that means. It could mean that maybe 2 hours a day is all that you want to set. Maybe it's 5 hours every other day, whatever works for your schedule and your psyche. I once worked with a fellow who had said that for every $10,000 you wanted to earn in salary, expect 1 month of job search. So that should tell you the arduous process that this is.
That's a really nice tip. I have never heard about it before.
So if you can imagine, if you're earning 60,000, if you think the Canadian equivalent was about 60, expect 6 months. And the higher you go, the longer it'll take for obvious reasons. So that kind of sets a guide. It's not true in all cases, but at least you're not going to be so frustrated if you can't find something in 4 weeks. So the next slide is, I know that your number one challenge will be no Canadian experience. I know that because I've heard it. I know that the people that I've worked with have said it, and I know what clients are looking for because I work as a third party. I work on behalf of clients looking for certain people. So we need to ensure that that phrase is not new to you, so that you can better empower yourself to overcome that right away. I also know that cultural fit is also important. And it doesn't matter whether you're applying to a junior level job, a senior level job, a job in Canada or in Turkey or Lebanon, it doesn't matter. Cultural fit is cultural fit. Everyone wants that. And I'm a true advocate for you to take charge of asking, what does that look like? What do you mean by cultural fit? How do you define it? What does the right cultural fit look like? How do I compare to that cultural fit? So that you have a better understanding of what that means. I also know for firsthand, there are some roles. I know that I worked on a programming position where I asked the client, what does the cultural fit look like? And he said, doesn't matter. I just want all technical. So there are certain jobs that don't need it, depending on where you are in terms of your career.
So Grace, normally this is not spoken. So nobody tells you that you're not a cultural fit, so we didn't hire you or we didn't call you. How we can learn that the reason is cultural fit?
That's a big one, because you're right. And cultural fit has different definitions to different people. And even within the same company, you'll have one culture in one division, and you'll have a completely different culture in another division. So you're right. And that's something that you may never know that you've been discounted on. But if you have somebody on the phone, that's why I really encourage you to ask them. Don't wait to be told. Ask them, what is the cultural fit within this division? What do you guys usually look for? Tell me a successful individual and what made them the right cultural fit. And you'll be amazed at what types of information will be shared. And the purpose of that is for you to learn from that. And with that information, empower you to do better on another position, another job interview, or another role. But don't be afraid to ask.
So you advise, so you advise being proactive about it. Don't wait for them to tell you. Okay, great.
If they are great and they will give you information, I think that the more information you know, the better it will be to empower you for the next job interview. In whatever that is, whether it's years of experience, your degree, cultural fit, it's all part of the pieces. And when you look for somebody, it's a puzzle. And if one piece is missing, don't you want to know what piece you're missing?
Yeah, definitely.
And some recruiters don't know what the right cultural fit is. So it's your job to make sure that maybe they didn't hear it the first time around because you were nervous or you weren't sure. But by golly, the next time you're going to hear my cultural fit.
Okay, great.
All right. So after you hear all that, you know that you're going to hear all that. Once you have a game plan in place, you need to put it into action. So when you come to Canada, you know that there are all kinds of ways to speak to people and to look for jobs. There's company websites, there's job boards, there's recruitment companies, there are friends, there are local communities that are there to help you. Your job is to reach out to all of those resources that are available, because you don't know where you're going to find a job. So my approach would be, if you were a fisherman, cast an open net and see what kind of fish would be interested in talking to you. So, and you don't want to just cast in the little lake, you want to cast in a big open area, because you just never know.
Try different things and you never know which one is going to work, I believe. For example, when I was searching jobs, I got some, advice that I should actually approach people through LinkedIn, message them if they're, working in that company that I am, considering to apply. I should reach out to them through LinkedIn and ask them for their help or advice. Do you recommend that?
So I like the spirit in reaching out. I love that. And I do believe people need to be more proactive and not worry so much about people not taking the time to speak with you. However, in that particular scenario, if there is nothing in common between the two of you, if you didn't go to the same school, if you're not from the same neighborhood, I don't know that that's a good use of your time, because if it's just a random person that you don't know, I'm not sure how effective that approach is.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather you do that if you knew that that person, you know, you guys had kids in the same school. Then reach
Mm-hmm.
out to them and say, hey, I would love to pick your brain about the company. I know that they're hiring. I would love to chat with you about the cultural fit within the company. Do you have a few minutes? That would make sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, more sincere approach. If you have a reason to approach people, a sincere reason, right?
Yes, and something that connects you together, so that that intro is, hey, we have kids that are in the same school, I see, or we go to the same church, or we graduated from the same university. You don't necessarily need to know them, but I think that there should be a common bond that makes you want to speak to them and that they want to return your call.
Mm-hmm. Is it
But
the same?
But somebody random that you don't know, that there's nothing in common, I'm not sure how successful you're going to be in getting a return call.
Is it the same for, you know, coffee invites that we are getting through LinkedIn? Can we have a coffee together, you know, to talk on something or whatever, that strategy?
Oh,
What do you think about that strategy?
you know, coffees used to be a big deal. I've been in this business for a little over 20 years, and coffees were a big deal, but I don't know what it is. That landscape has really changed. People don't have time to do anything. And now with people working from home,
Virtual coffee, they say, right now.
virtual coffee, you know, I'm not sure, because now you're not just taking a little bit of your time. Keep in mind what's in it for them. While people are really, really good, people are under tight deadlines. And I'm not sure that getting a virtual coffee will be too successful for you. I'd rather you spend 3 minutes picking their brain about something than them thinking that, whoa, a virtual coffee, that's really a commitment. That's at least 30 minutes. I have to be polite. When is it going to happen? During the day when I'm working, or at night when I should be with my family? I don't know if that's going to be too effective.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay. And let's see. So with what there are a lot of, you know, backdoor happenings that people just don't know what's happening. And working as a recruiter myself, I know that I've spoken to a lot of great qualified individuals, only to find that so-and-so's brother's cousin got the job and they weren't even nearly as qualified as you. So there are a lot of behind the scenes. And when we receive hundreds of applications, believe it or not, sometimes companies, because there's just so many applications, will look for reasons to not include you in the process than to include you in the process, because that's easier.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easy to rule somebody out, looking at just, no, they're too junior. No, they don't have Canadian experience. So you need to consider a few things on your side. Should you now look for a position that's maybe a level lower than what you're accustomed to back home? Mm-hmm. Would you consider perhaps looking at a position that's outside of the city, a more rural, where competition is less? Mm-hmm. Would you consider taking contract opportunities, as I know that many people will do, in the spirit of getting that Canadian experience? So at least a contract opens the door for other opportunities that are full-time, but at least now you've got your full-time Canadian experience. So that's where a nice cover letter will come in, where you can discuss, and we'll talk about what that cover letter could look like. But in that cover letter, you can discuss reasons to look at your background, even though you might be applying to a position that might seem a downgrade from your skills. In the meantime, I also encourage you to make sure that, maybe you might have to go and attend some English classes to update your skills. Call the local universities. Make sure that your university degree from home is equivalent to Canadian university degree. Put that on your cover letter so that employers know that it's the same course, same university degree is the same back home in Canada. There are specialized courses like HR engineering and accounting that we need specific certificates from Canada because the regulations or the codes are different. So ensure that you've updated your skills.
So what I saw that a lot of, places have, like the colleges and universities has these, certificate programs. When we're, deciding which one to go, like which one is actually the company is going to take seriously than the others. How can you find out, like, is some criteria that, people who are looking for these kind of certificates should consider?
So the best way to do that is, I would say, go to a job description and you're going to start seeing certain certificates. So for example, with HR, let's go to the accounting certificate. So I know that CAs and CPAs is a big deal. Mm-hmm. If you don't have that, you may want to look into schools that offer that. Mm-hmm. And instead of going to the school directly first, I would first look at the positions that would be of interest to you and start looking at some patterns and see what types of certificates these companies are looking for. And that should help you decide at that point to go into the local colleges or universities to upgrade those skills.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. I can see that you were in your presentation that acknowledge assumptions on your cover letter. So what kind of assumptions we should consider?
So this is where you have to start thinking like an employer. Mm-hmm. So when you are reading a job description, let's say for a manager position and you were a director level position, let's say. Mm-hmm. So this is where, if I were to look at your resume, and I would encourage you to act like an employer and look at your resume. And if you were hiring for the job and you saw somebody with your background, what would be the potential reasons not to give you a possible opportunity to be a candidate for the position? Mm-hmm. And let's just take that scenario again. You were a director and now you're applying to a manager job. This is where the cover letter becomes of interest, because the cover letter will offset any assumptions that the employer may have. And this is where it would be a good opportunity for you to talk about your interest in the opportunity, that while you were at a director level in your hometown or your home country, that you don't expect the same level to come to Canada. And you have to make it in such a way that it's a give and take, that the mm-hmm. experience, you can bring the company experiences, but you could also learn the Canadian or that corporation's mm-hmm. Way of doing business. Mm-hmm. So it would be not a liaison, but it would be a give and take type of opportunity. Mm-hmm. Because some clients might think that you're just here for the year, and then as soon as you get your experience, you're going to go for a bigger job somewhere else. Mm-hmm. Make sure in that cover letter you talk about that and be as sincere as you can be. Mm-hmm. Maybe highlight the company and what great values it has, and you want to partner with a company with great ethics. And that's the reason why you're applying to the job, not necessarily because it's not the equivalent of what you're used to.
Thank you.
You know, I did have, oh yes, the next thing, the next slide is the cover letter and resume. So it segues nicely into what we were just talking about. So I must confess, I do not look at all cover letters, yet here I am telling you to write one down.
Thank you. It is really nice to hear it from a recruiter.
So recruiters have, I don't know what the stats are, like 2 seconds to look at resumes. So while on the recruiter side, we do not have time to look through all of the cover letters. I look at the resume and I assess within 2 seconds whether or not you're what I'm looking for. However, it is good practice to get into to have that cover letter, because what that does is if I do get a resume that I'm not sure about, but I want to like it, there are things about it that I like, then I will look at a cover letter. And so that cover letter helps me understand your interest, why you think your qualifications are aligned with what I'm looking for. And it just hopefully gives me a little insight into your personality. We're not looking for robots here. We're looking for people. People have personalities, people have senses of humor. And, you know, it really is a last ditch attempt to kind of sell yourself, quote unquote. Give me a sense of who you are. And so that's where a cover letter really addresses that. They also, they will also talk about, I do expect different cover letters for different jobs. Please do not cut and paste the last cover letter to a new job. I do believe in different resumes depending on the different positions that you're applying to. So don't just have one resume. It is not a catch-all. So that's why it does take time and it is a process. The other thing too, cover letters could do is it takes assumptions away from from the companies that are hiring. So let me give you an example. I worked with a lady from Mexico who was an engineer, and she was expressing that she worked in Panama City and working on various engineering projects. And she was new to, in this case, it was the US. This was a US client. And my client did not want to hire anyone who didn't understand US engineering codes. But I called her anyway because I liked her background. There were things about her that made me want to call her. And so when I called her, I asked her about Panama and how equivalent they were to the US engineering codes. And she said it was the same thing. We didn't know that. I certainly didn't know that. And I don't think my client knew that. And now she's going ahead and having an interview. But again, that cover letter would respond, or if you feel that you should put that right on your resume in this case, because that was going to be a deal breaker, then I would put in, you know, worked in Panama City, same engineering codes as the US in this particular case, so that when a recruiter goes through your resume, they're not discounting you on assumptions, they're discounting you for other reasons. The other mistake that I think immigrants make is they don't tell me that you're allowed to work here without a visa. Write it down. Just because you've been in Canada for 3 years, I don't know if you're allowed to work here. Write that down. Canadian citizen, permanent resident, able to work without any issue.
Where should I, for example, I want to put it on my resume or cover letter. Where should I put it?
You can put it right at the top when it gives you a little blurb about you. You could say, you know, recently immigrated to Canada, able to work without sponsorship, and here's what I bring.
Okay.
Right up front, so that people don't, again, take the assumptions out of a recruiter. Recruiters have 2 seconds to look at your resume, give them reasons to call you. I don't know, I know that Zayep had already put a Canadian resume a program together, which is great. I didn't see it, but a sure way of knowing that you're not from Canada is having a picture on your resume and your personal information. I don't want to know about your date of birth. I do not want your social security or insurance number.
If you have a driving license or if you're a smoker or not.
Do not put those things down. I don't need a picture, or especially your passport picture. Do not put that down. And make sure you tweak different resumes for the different positions. I'm not saying for you to lie or misrepresent yourself. I just want you to represent yourself in a better light. So if a company is looking for maybe your project management skills, outline those more than your designing skills, as an example. Outline what the position that you're applying to for you have more of, obviously assuming that you have that. So put different focuses.
So you recommend that consider the job description to rewrite your resume. Am I getting right?
Got it.
Okay.
You got it. So for example, if I'm looking for a project manager with strong design experience, then, but you're also a project manager with both design and field work, let's just say. Well, in that particular case, let's talk about all the work that you did on the design side and maybe not talk too much about your field work because it's not appropriate. Now, when you have a conversation with somebody on the phone, you can discuss how it's a 50-50 split and that you're just as comfortable in field, but the focus of that position is really your design work. So let's showcase what you did on the design side.
What about the must-have portion of the job posts? Should we just, focus on that and we just kind of say, no, I don't qualify for this and give up? Or
I'll tell you, being on the recruitment side of listening to my clients, it is a supply and demand thing. And while clients say somebody must have something, depending on the quality of those people that must have them, many times they don't must have. It's a funny situation, and please do not look at that as the end all be all. Yes, there is some credence to why the company is looking for that. And usually must-haves, you would say, absolutely, they must have it, but that's not true. If you have 75% of the skills that a client is looking for, apply to that job. Do not scare away from applying because you just never know. Sometimes
good to know.
Yes.
Good to know. Thank you for sharing that with us because, sometimes you just discourage from applying.
It would be really lovely if, you could get on the phone with an HR person or the hiring manager and find out exactly what it is that they are looking for. Because if you were to do that, you would find out that this 2 or 3 page job description that is inundated with information, at the end of the day, we only need 2 or 3 things max. And wouldn't it be so much nicer if a client just said, these are the 3 skills that I'm looking for. That's it. If you have it. But they don't do that. They have your long list of laundry of things that they're looking for, and it becomes a little overwhelming to the person that's applying, and it becomes overwhelming to the recruiter who's looking for somebody to fill the role. If you have an opportunity to speak to somebody, that's the ideal case, because once you start speaking to them, they'll be able to tell you what the top 3 things are that they're looking for, which brings me to the next thing. So again, structure your day to dedicate to some time to this. This is now your part-time job among everything else. Consider this a little part-time job that you have. Your attitude is very important. I do speak to people who are cynical, who are upset why they got laid off. I speak to people who are mad at their old bosses and mad at the country, and that does not bode well for a good interview. And while I feel bad for people, it also tells me that you're going to take your negative energy into this job, and I don't want it. So be careful. If you have to go outside, go for a run, get it all out, talk to your friend to give you a good pep talk. You really do need to get into a better frame of mind when speaking to somebody, and pretend your history is not going to affect it. Sometimes recruiters just don't know what they're looking for and what's really important. You don't know if this recruiter is a 2-year in, if this recruiter is just a order filler. I'm looking for ABC, I need ABC. Or somebody who's more experienced, where you don't have to explain so much. The whole idea is to be in charge of your progress. You're the driver. I say do what you've got to do to have conversations. So applying to a position, while it's good, it's just not enough. Apply, find out who's the hiring manager, maybe find out who's the HR person in charge of that. Call them, email them, visit somebody, visit the company, sit in the front lobby, get a sense, maybe talk to the receptionist. These times you need to extend yourself. I know COVID adds another set of challenges, and maybe visiting might not be appropriate right now. So we may have to rethink that one, but I'm a big advocate of being proactive. Look at anyone in your network that can help. Tell people you're looking for work. Find out your neighbors, where they're working, if they're looking for people that would be interested in somebody with your skills. Use the resources available in your local community. Set up mock interviews so that you become more comfortable within the Canadian structure, so that you can work on interviewing, so that when the real job becomes available, you're just that much more confident.
Mm-hmm. And what I'm hearing is you never know which one will work, right? So there's no better way of applying jobs, like a job posting, applying to a job post, or networking, or the other stuff. You never know which one will work. So try them all.
Try them all. Mm-hmm. There are different associations that help immigrants, as I mentioned before. Reach out to them. Do some weird Google searches. Do a Google search on companies that hire immigrants. Talk to people that are involved in diversity and inclusion hires. Be creative. And yes, as we had mentioned before, just use all kinds of opportunities where you can make a connection with somebody. Mm-hmm. You're just that much closer to getting that ideal job. Just network.
So for example, people are just one last question that I think everybody is just getting this advice from different people. So should I use my real name on my resume?
Oh boy.
Is it something that I should consider too? When you say that, do what it takes. So is it one thing that I should consider as well?
Here's the thing. I would hate to think that we live in that kind of society. I think Canada is a melting pot of different cultures, and we are what we are because of our immigrants. So I would hope that is not the reason, or that's a deterrent. Now, if you feel strongly that you want to add a Canadianized name, and if you think that, your name is so difficult to pronounce that you believe that somebody's not calling you, I personally do not think that that's the case. However, if you believe that it might warrant more, then go ahead and put it in parentheses just to make yourself feel better. I would hate to think that that is the.
Thank you too for clarifying that for us. Any other things that you would like to add?
Well, you know, I know it's a challenging process, but at the end of the day, surround yourself with positivity, have a network of people that can help support you. Reach out to recruiters. We will talk to people. We are here for people. We might not have the right jobs for people, but we can certainly share information, and we certainly have 5 minutes of our time to give you some information. There are resources out there for free. Use them.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the tips and strategies that you shared, Grace. I'm sure our audience appreciate your honesty as a recruiter, which was really important for us. We were all looking forward to getting answers from a person from the other side of the table, and you provided that for us. Thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
And I think this is the end of our session. So I would wrap up it with, just addressing our followers. And thank you for watching our video today. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel to hear more about our future sessions. Have a great day.